Hello and welcome to the D1 Baseball Men's College World Series preview and pick show day one, Friday. Here we are in Omaha. I'm your host, Michael Patrick Rooney, and we are so pleased again this postseason to be sponsored by Wilson, the Omaha experience over here by the stadium and the baseball village. Wilson's going to give you the best brands in baseball all under one roof at the Omaha experience. Meet equipment experts and shop for gear from Evo Shield, DeMarini, Louisville Slugger, and Wilson. Again, it's the Omaha experience. You can also go online at evoshield.com/Omaha. And again, if you're here in Omaha, you got to get to the baseball village. This Omaha experience here is incredible. The swag, the gear, all the equipment. And so I got my man Kendall Rogers here. I got Joe Healy. Gentlemen, good morning.
Runes, I would say I would take like half the store home, but I know my wife's probably watching, so I will not do that.
Today is swag day for the Rooneys. Yeah, like if I don't come home with at least three pieces of swag for J-Ro, it's a problem.
So can I give you an idea of like something I really like they added this year were the team specific hats.
Ooh, I didn't notice that.
You got the Vols colors, Gators colors, LSU colors. Those are awesome.
Yes. Joe, do you have what's your swag strategy?
I slow play it. I make a lap early in the week. I come back for seconds, and if something really speaks to me that second day, I'll get something. But I tend to kind of wait till the end of the week, and I take it to say that if I saw something early in the week that I liked and it's not there later in the week, I just wasn't meant to have it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
day one recon, day two is for execution.
Can I admit something? This will shock you guys, but I procrastinate on buying gear. And I pretty much wait till the very end to where everything's picked over, so I can't find the sizes I'm looking for everybody. So that's how I roll.
You weren't meant to have it. See?
Yeah. Fashionably late.
Runes, one critique of your read there, which was fabulous, by the way. Generally speaking, was fabulous.
Generally fabulous.
That's a forward slash.
Oh, it is a forward slash.
Okay,
yeah,
not a
backward slash. You got to get that right, Rooney.
Backward slash sounds cooler, so I don't know what the difference is, but I appreciate that.
I wonder what the decision-making process was, and they're like, let's do a forward slash instead of backward slash. I don't know. I backward slash just feels more natural to me, but whatever. Just do a slash and then you'll figure it out.
Figure it out. Yeah.
Yes.
Our listeners are smart.
Yeah, they are smarter than the host, apparently. All right, boys, let's talk about day one here. So this side of the bracket, the first game will be Oral Roberts and TCU. Second game, the night game. We have two gorgeous night games to start this tournament, by the way. So tonight's game will be Florida and Virginia. So let's start with players to watch, and then we'll come back with our picks. Joe, I'll start with you for Oral Roberts and TCU. Who are some players? Maybe give us two players that have your eye in this game, and then Kendall will have you do two players too.
Sure.
Yeah, I'll go with one of the obvious ones, and that's TCU's Cole Klecker. He's really the one guy in their rotation that they've gone to as a workhorse. They can expect to get 6-7 innings out of, and they're going to need it today, because even if they end up in the winner's bracket, it feels like they really need to kind of stockpile their pitching for days 2 and on, and try to get out of this game with as few arms used as possible. So getting him deep into the game is going to be huge, and I think it's the kind of game where they're just going to have him wear it a little bit too. If he gives up 2, 3, 4 runs, they're just going to have faith that their offense, which has been so hot, is able to keep pace. So that's who I'm looking at for TCU. Oral Roberts, Jake McMurray, brother of Cooper McMurray at Auburn, two of the hottest hitting brothers over kind of the second half of the season.
How about
that? Jonah Cox obviously gets some of the attention. There are other guys in the Oral Roberts lineup, I think, that have been a little bit flashier, but he's really given that lineup depth. Oral Roberts comes in a pretty dangerous lineup. Generally speaking, this lineup is not your stereotypical mid-major lineup that's going to look to, kind of flick the ball the other way and move runners over and get guys in. Like, these guys can really swing it, and he's a big part of it.
All right, so Kendall, before you go, two players. Aaron Fitt, our good friend Aaron Fitt, who won't be here until Sunday night. If you're listening, your nonsense tracker that you do in the press box, Joe Healy plus 20, because it's not lost on me, Jose, that you just went very non-famous players. Really, just for me and Kendall right now, the world is our oyster. I mean, Kendall, there are stars right all over the menu. Yeah, well done, Joe.
Yeah, it's
good job.
I felt like I can't. Yeah, exactly. I'm setting the table here.
Yes. It was elite table setting. Go ahead, KR.
I'll go with Elijah Nunez at TCU. I just feel like when you look at TCU's offense, he's kind of the guy that when he gets rolling, he's got the emotion in him. He's got an electric personality. When he gets on base, he kind of wreaks havoc a little bit. He can hit. He can hit in the gaps. He can hit doubles. So I just think when he gets rolling, TCU kind of follows suit. I think for ORU, I look at, Jonah Cox. I mean, again, this is a team that is top 20 in the country in on-base percentage, top 20 in the country in stolen bases. And again, just like Nunez, really kind of similar, similar impacts. When he gets on base, good things tend to happen to ORU. So I think the two guys that are kind of speedy, athletic, they energize their team, their leaders. Those are the two guys to watch for me.
Yeah, Jonah Cox, 40. I mean, just think about that. 47-game hitting streak is crazy.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, and like in the Eugene Super Regional, Jonah Cox has a home run to center field. He has a bunt for a hit. I mean, he really is a dynamic dude.
Well, and the other thing too is to be able to sustain this throughout the postseason. It's one thing to do it in the regular season in the Summit, but to do it in the regional, super regional, and now get to Omaha. We'll see if we can continue it, but that's pretty impressive.
No doubt. So I'll just go with the famous guys. So for Oral Roberts, Cade Denton, I think if you gave any of the head coaches in this tournament truth serum, they would all say, yes, I would trade for Cade Denton today. Like this dude's up to 97. He's a strike throwing machine. The slider is a real out pitch. He's a weapon. And I think Oral Roberts' bullpen in general is a real area of strength for them. For TCU, Braden Taylor is one of those potential first-round picks. And so, this game, I think the story of this College World Series is star power. And this game, which probably is the least hyped of the games, has the star power. So
yeah, the thing about Braden that's really cool is, we've talked about this on our pod before, but, I saw those guys in the middle of the season, and, it was a totally different person. He was hitting 260. The approach was not very good. He was not very selective. In the last, month and a half of the season, he's been unbelievable. So, yeah, he's a big guy. And Cade Denton, one thing that's really interesting to me just watching Oregon last week, by the way, that was a really good atmosphere in Eugene.
Yeah, it was awesome.
But, they're in a big moment, and they show him, and, you can tell, he's not shaking, he's not nervous, and he just looks like he's ready to steal your soul. And that's what I want to see out of a closer. He just looks inflappable.
I've compared this Oral Roberts team to 2012 Stony Brook a little bit.
Yeah.
In that early on in their run, we kind of looked at them as, oh, look how cute. They're winning games and they're advancing. And then by the time you get to this point, you realize these guys are actually really talented.
Yes.
And Oral Roberts kind of fits that. And I think chiefly Cade Denton. I mean, I think people might be surprised if they'd never seen him when he comes out of the bullpen this week at how good the stuff is. It's to your point, Runes. I mean, could pitch anywhere in the country good.
Yeah, I would argue. I think ORU is a more well-rounded team than Stony Brook, though. I mean, if you look at ORU or if you look at Stony Brook, they had Tyler Johnson, who's the number one guy for them?
Yeah, the California kid.
Yeah, really outside of him, their pitching was just okay. They just had that loaded lineup. But I feel like ORU's kind of got everything.
Yeah, shout out to Max Tissenbaum.
Yeah.
Max.
I'll take it when I can actually remember his name.
That was
one
good.
Starter from Stony Brook from 5 years ago.
Oh gosh, they had Stony Brook had a left-handed hitter like Willie something.
Willie Carmona.
Yeah, oh
Willie
my gosh.
Carmona. I just remember
he was
LSU
delicious.
Camps to know, I can't believe we're losing these guys, and now 6 of those dudes are in pro or the big leagues.
Oh gosh,
Travis
winning
Jankowski.
bingo cards with Travis Jankowski. He's still in the big leagues, I think. Yeah,
no doubt.
Oh, if you had Willie Carmona on your bingo card, congratulations.
Remember that play he made at third at LSU? I mean, that was unbelievable.
Yeah, he was so good, Willie C. All right, keys to the game. Joe, what do you got as the key to the game here?
I mentioned it a little bit earlier. I probably should have saved it and kept it in the holster a little bit, but TCU needs to get out of this game. If they're going to advance and move on and make a deep run here, they need to get out of this game having used as few arms as possible. And so I think there's a little bit of a two-pronged thing. One is what I talked about with Klecker. The other is getting the offense rolling early and putting up enough runs to where you feel comfortable early in this game and you don't end up in a dogfight. Because if you end up in a dogfight, your hand is going to get forced where you're going to have to use bullpen arms. You're going to have to go for it.
Yeah.
You don't really want that. That's not to disparage Oral Roberts. I wouldn't be shocked if it happens that way. But if you're TCU looking at making a deep run here, this is a game where you got to feel like, hey, we need to get in and out of here with very little drama if we're going to move on.
Low drama like that. KR?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is just, from ORU's perspective, is putting yourself in a position where you can turn this game over to Widener and Denton. I think if you're within striking distance or with a lead and you can turn the game over to those two guys in the 7th inning, you're in a pretty good spot. So I think that's the biggest key is put yourself in a position to win with those two guys available at the end.
Yeah, I would say team defense is top of mind for me.
Yeah.
Oral Roberts is the number one fielding percentage team in the country. So they're going to have to do that, right? Like a team as hot as TCU is, you can't give them extra outs because they're capitalizing on everything right now. And I think for TCU, Cole Klecker is not a bat misser, really. Ball's going to be in play. And so does TCU play good defense? Because I don't think you want to help the Oral Roberts offense. So should be fun. Yeah, it's again, like even this game that might be off some people's radar has real intrigue and real star power.
Klecker, what's interesting is I was in Fort Worth last week, and you're watching from behind the plate. It had been a while since I've seen him, to start behind the plate, and like you watch his stuff, and you're like, I don't know how he's missing so many, like how he's getting so many missed hits. Like the stuff isn't electric.
Yeah,
he just throws a lot of strikes and has a little manipulation in his arm angle, and probably has a little bit of spin on the fastball.
Yeah, the thing about Klecker to me is there's a little bit of Thomas Eshelman in there, meaning that it's just relentless pounding of the strike zone, like no fear of contact. Like I am just going to jam my stuff into the strike zone over and over again, and whatever happens, happens. And most pitchers don't have the fortitude to do that.
Can I make one more quick observation? I will say this about TCU. I think with TCU, I think they need to win this game with Klecker. I don't think TCU is built to be a team that loses with Klecker today.
Yeah.
And then comes out of the losers bracket with Sam Stoutenborough and Cam Brown.
Totally agree.
It's also that the team that ends up in the losers bracket here is going to be playing Florida or Virginia.
Yeah, good luck.
Which is like, okay.
not awesome.
Not a great situation.
Yeah. Hashtag not awesome. All right. Florida and Virginia. Joe, give us a couple players, Florida and Virginia.
Well, in Florida, I'm going to go Cade Kurland. I'm always interested to see how freshmen who have been precocious deal with.
Nice word.
Thank you. Yeah, deal with this kind of setting. And so, maybe we'll see it a little bit with some of the arms, but I look at a position player like him who's been so dynamic. When we talk about Florida having the lineup that it has, sure, it's got the famous guys, but Cade Kurland being as good as he has been so early in his career has really given that lineup some length and made them what I think is the most dangerous lineup in the country, maybe other than LSU, and we can have that debate another time. So I'm looking at him. And then with Virginia, I think it's Nick Parker, just because their rotation is. I tried to say this in a nice way, but I don't totally. We've talked all year about I don't totally know how it is, and I guess kudos to Drew Dickinson, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's probably the answer there. But the stuff is not elite, and that's not just true with him. That's true all throughout their rotation. The stuff is not elite. You look at it, and you're not entirely sure how they're getting outs, but they're getting outs. They just make it work. Their ERA is what it is for a reason. That's not this time of year. That's not a fluke.
No,
right? So, having him continue that run and give them a solid outing, it feels important, if for no other reason than because it'll give folks like us another chance to say, hey, we were wrong about these guys, because I do think there is still a part of us that feels like the clock could strike midnight on Virginia's pitching staff here because of the offenses they're going to face starting with Florida tonight.
Yeah. Very room temperature, the rotation.
Yeah, just 100%.
Nothing flashy.
It's comfortable.
Yeah.
Kendall?
I'll go with Brandon Sproat for Florida. I just think when you look at Florida, really the key to Florida's run in this whole tournament is their starters giving them 6 or 7 innings in the start last weekend. Sproat and Hurst and Waldrop went 6+. What happened? They won both games. They were able to turn things over to that bullpen with Abner, Fisher, and Neely and company. So I just think when you look at Florida, I think Brandon Sproat, if he can give them a strong start, get them through the 6th inning, that sets them up very well the last couple of innings. So I think that's the big key for them. And this whole tournament really is just getting a little bit of length out of the starters. When they haven't gotten length out of the starters, that's when they've lost series this year.
How about do you have a player in Virginia that stands out?
Last week I thought Jake Geloff was in a zone. Like it seemed like when they needed a big hit against Duke, like Geloff was like that guy. And so that's low hanging fruit, but I mean he was the man last week, and for them to make a run here in Omaha, he's gonna have to be that guy as well.
Yeah, I'll go. I think Josh Rivera has been the best player on the field for Florida. When I get it, like Wyatt Langford's going to be a top 3 pick, and Jack Caglione could be a first. He could be a 1-1 guy, but Josh Rivera just makes plays when the game is on the line. 4th-year player, and so I think he's a real key that can keep doing it for Florida. And then for Virginia, I want to say Kyle Teal. That's the lowest of the lowest hanging fruit. But I'm going to say Ethan Anderson. I feel like Ethan Anderson is like the star in waiting for Virginia. Switch hitter. The power has really emerged. Yeah. Apparently, he would be the catcher next year. Again, you start going through these 2 lineups, and you're like, dang, there's just a depth of stars here.
The thing that's scary about Florida is like Wyatt Langford hasn't had a great postseason. Like he hasn't had just some sort of flashy postseason, and you got to wonder, is he just going to dial back in and be that dude at some point? Like if he is, like Florida's not only dangerous, they're terrifying, as I say about Wake Forest in this tournament.
Wyatt Langford is going to be one of the. We're going to look back on him in 5 years, and we're going to be like, dang, he was the third pick in the draft, or the second pick, or the first pick, and I'll maybe I should accuse myself of this. We mention him. We rarely talk about him, because there's so much star power around him. There's so much star power in the league. We always bring him up. We don't ignore him, but I feel like he's like a rest area for me. Like I come in and I'm out. It's for as talented as he is. So, but your point's well taken, Kendall. Could this be the stage where he puts a final exclamation point on what's been a really cool career?
Yeah, and what's really interesting from a draft perspective is like, there are some teams out there that are kind of in the discussions of whether or not they like him over Dylan Cruz or Dylan Cruz ahead of him. And you kind of wonder if he comes here, is it like a Cade Horton kind of thing where he comes here, balls out, and all of a sudden he's, the top overall pick in the draft.
No doubt. Joe, keys to the game.
The biggest one, obviously, is Steven Schock being in the building. That's worth a couple of runs for Virginia. I feel like
shock factor.
Yeah, he's going to pitch if they need him.
Yeah, for sure. He's available in the bullpen with that busted up elbow that still hasn't been surgically repaired. So yeah, that's got to be worth a little bit of something. Also with the Geloff, shout out to Runes the dog. That's an inside.
Oh, that's right.
It's an inside joke for about 5 people watching this.
Yeah, they named their dog after my family name somehow, some way.
Look at that.
Spelled it differently though, just to be clear.
How else do you spell Runes?
They did. So the dog's technical name is Rooney. So Roonnie is how they did it. Yeah.
Okay, I thought
does that count as our inane banter topic of the day?
Yeah, I think that's it.
Okay, my wife is demanding that we have an inane banter topic.
So technically, my family has a Virginia baseball dog named after it, which is cool. Like, this is an honor.
Check the inane banter.
It's an honor and a privilege, Runes.
Yes.
So for me, I think it's Virginia. It feels like Florida's going to land a haymaker at some point. They've been too good lately. They've been too hot. I continue to get feedback from coaches in the SEC that, hey, Florida was the best team we played all year. Not LSU, not Arkansas, not anybody else. It was Florida. And so I do think they have a haymaker in them early in the game. And if you're Virginia, you have to withstand whatever that is, whether it's a 4 spot in the first inning, whether it's, hey, they've scored in 4 of the first 5 innings, whatever it is. Virginia's got to have it within them to punch back a little bit. Because let's face it, ACC, obviously very, very good league, not quite the gauntlet the SEC was this year. So Virginia hasn't taken as many punches probably as Florida has. I would have the same concern about Wake Forest, by the way, when we talk about them tomorrow. So can Virginia withstand that first haymaker from Florida, or do they kind of end up on the mat and can't quite get back into it? That feels like it's going to be key early in the game.
Yep. KR?
I'm going to say the 2 words, consistent urgency out of Virginia. I felt like last weekend against Duke, I didn't think they looked great in the opening game. But whenever they're back against the wall, the last 2 games, they looked really good. So I think the biggest thing for Virginia here on this stage, you can't afford to get in a hole. Like, if you lose the first game, it's pretty hard to come out of the loser's bracket and play for a national championship. So I think for them, just having that urgency right off the bat today, as opposed to, waiting until the second game is going to be really important for them.
Yeah, I think I'm really focused. I think the 2 position player groups these are special groups, right? Like these are the scary groups. Yeah. So the pitching becomes interesting because Florida has the starting. I'm thinking about Brandon Sproat, right? Like it's bat missing stuff, but it can also, Sproat could walk 5, with the wrong
haywire. Real quick.
And who's the home plate umpire matters, right? And for Virginia, it's the opposite. It's really pitch to contact, but against Florida, saying you're going to pitch to contact and then actually staying convicted to that is, a different deal. Now, we'll see how that plays out. I think the home plate umpire matters. I think the way the field plays today really matters. I do think the 2 bullpens, I don't have tremendous conviction on these 2 bullpens. Brandon Neely is very talented. He's had some great moments. He's had some not so great. Virginia's bullpen, I think, has struggled down the stretch. I'm a little concerned about it.
Yeah.
Will it matter? Will it not matter?
Well, the other thing, too, is like all year long, whether, umps want to admit it or not, like the SEC strike zone has been tighter than other conferences around the country. And you kind of wonder, like, hey, like you said, who's behind the plate? Is it an SEC guy where all of a sudden Virginia is going to be dealing with a strike zone this big? Or is it some guy, for the Pac-12 or the Big 12 where it's expanded a little bit. It's
Yep.
going to matter today.
It is going to matter. We hope it's not going to matter, but it is, that again, the good news is this, like we will have the best umpires in college baseball at the College World Series. Like this is, we hope, right? In theory, that's how it works.
Oregon State would disagree.
Yeah, that's right. And I am an umpire apologist. So there you go. So, hey, so that's going to be day one right there. Want to remind everyone, the Omaha experience, brands like DeMarini, Louisville Slugger, Evo Shield, Wilson over here in the Baseball Village. If you're coming to Omaha, it's right next to the stadium. You can't miss it. The swag, the gear. You're going to want to bring an extra credit card. I'll just warn you ahead of time because the stuff's too good. You're going to make purchases. That's Team Rooney is about to make some purchases. So that's it. We will be back each day doing our preview and our picks. And for Kendall and Joe, this is Runes. Peace out.